Hi, everybody. Well, welcome to the Comstock Channel. I'm Marlon Bowling with you, and we're talking with you again from Commodity Classic in Houston, Texas. And as always, I want to remind you to be sure and like and share this video and subscribe to it down below so you can get notified if we have updates. Well, right now I have Andy Guffey with me, and he hails from Cabot, Arkansas. He's executive director for the National Association of Ag in the Classroom, right?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, National Ag in the Classroom.
National Ag in the Classroom. So
Good.
that, being a farm kid myself, over the years, I've been doing media since the mid-90s. I've had the chance to do interviews in schools and that sort of thing. My favorite interviews have been with some of the younger kids.
Yeah.
And, the old Art Linkletter saying, kids say the darndest things. They will. But you learn a lot. And you learn a lot about what's lacking nowadays. Kids are so far removed from the farm, they don't have a clue what's going on right now, do they?
No, and that's our goal, is to try and reach as many young people with ag literacy as we possibly can. Yeah. So we have programs in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., 2 U.S. territories.
Really?
And our job at the national organization is to help support those programs, provide them with programs they can use, support them with curriculum that's aligned to the national standards, and that will go into that formal K-12 classroom.
Now, how did this get started anyway?
Started in 1981 when Secretary John Block brought in all of the volunteer groups across the country that were working to do ag in the classroom. So your Farm Bureaus, Extension Service, Grange, Farmers Union, all of those. Brought them in, said, hey, we kind of need to organize this and make sure this keeps going, because there really is a disconnect. And then by 1985, they had formed a task force, recommended the formation of a national organization to help the people who were doing agriculture in the classroom work. And that started out that way, morphed into more of a training for teachers and administrators going from there.
Right.
Our organization officially formed in 98 as a 501c3 in 1998.
Okay.
And been growing strong ever since then. We have a national conference every year that we host to teachers. We'll have about 500 to 550 teachers that will be there at that conference. They have their choice of about 80-something different workshops they can attend to learn more about how to integrate agriculture as the context for what they're teaching in their classrooms.
When this all kind of came about, I've had the chance to work with kids in rural areas and in metro areas. I kind of had the thought that this will never fly if you get into an urban area. Urban schools are not going to really care. And I was kind of proven wrong, because actually they're kind of hungry to learn about what things are on the farm, how things work. They probably have a greater hunger for it than some of the rural kids. A lot of them already know about it. But, for example, we were talking before we started recording here. Kids nowadays, how far removed are they from maybe a dairy farm? How do they know where the milk comes from or where eggs come from? Right. Some would just say, Kroger. How do you combat that now?
Yeah, so you have to introduce the concepts to them early, so we focus on starting as early as pre-K with introducing ag literacy to the students. You teach them, you start off teaching them what the different animals are, what it is that we get from them, and how that actually does end up in their grocery store. And so, because most of these kids today are going to probably be at a minimum 3 to 4 generations removed from the farm. And that's
really
that many now. It's as our farm population has shrank and more people, whether moved to town or moved into the suburbs and, are no longer connected to the farm the way that they used to be. And so a lot of these kids are that many generations removed. And so it's important to reach out to them. You just get started with the basics, and then you work from there and teach them how agriculture touches their everyday life, what it means to the economy in their state, what it means to them personally, how it's related to national security, how important it is that a nation can feed itself and not rely on other people, and that importance. And you'll find that kids have a really strong desire to learn about food, because we all have to eat. Even if you eat protein shakes 3 times a day, that had to be, that's made from that comes from, if it's whey protein, it's coming from cow's milk.
Right, yeah.
So we all have to eat. And so the kids are interested in that. How did that get here? who grew my orange, who grew my apple,
Mhm.
you know, where'd my chicken come from, you know, how did those chicken nuggets get here? So they're naturally curious and want to learn more about that. And so when you can integrate that into the lessons that you're teaching them in school, it serves both purposes. Now they have a context to put behind the academic lessons that they're learning, as well as learning about agriculture, where their food comes from. It's important to them in their life. And
Well, explain how that works. I mean, do you have a set curriculum that you offer to teachers to
We-
use, or how do you do that?
yeah, so nationally, on the national website, we have what's known as a curriculum matrix. And we have curriculum that covers multiple subjects. We have about 500 lessons that are on there, about 1,000 companion resources that help support those lessons.
Wow.
And so they're all geared to the latest pedagogy that the teachers are using and to teach, whether that's a learning model or phenomenon-based science lessons are on there. And the way that is it's a formal thing they can take into their classroom, and it covers multiple subjects. If they want to learn about pollinators, there's lessons on bees. If they want to learn about beef, there's lessons on beef. If they want to learn about growing plants, photosynthesis, biotechnology, we have lessons that support all of those different subject areas. So the teachers are free to search those, find the one that they're looking for to kind of help them explain that concept better.
You know, as I watch developments in the ag industry, I think one of the biggest obstacles right now might be battling misinformation. That's tough.
It is.
How do you go about that?
Well, you have to focus on continuing to tell, you know, the correct information. And we try to have some lessons that are crafted to combat that a little bit. Okay, what does a food label mean?
Yeah.
And what actually on that food label is regulated and what's not regulated. And so we have some lessons that touch on that. And we have lessons that talk about, you know, what is a GMO?
Mhm.
And how many actual food products are GMO? Well, there's not very many. You know, I think today we're only up to 9. Out of all the food products you could buy, there's only about 9, you know, food items that are actually could be made with something that was GMO.
Mhm.
And in a lot of cases, those were done in order to preserve that plant, to keep it, you know, going. Say, like, and then, you know, in the instance of papayas, that's why, you know, we have GMO papayas, was because that plant was in danger of going extinct due to fungus and disease.
All right.
So you had to do something if you wanted to keep those. And so you have different, so we use those lessons to tell them, okay, well, this is the latest scientific information and this is the truth about what's going on. And so then it's important to understand, especially of food labels. Well, these are labels that the USDA regulates and says these are the rules for using them. And then these are marketing terms that people put on there that's not really a food label.
Okay, I know it can be kind of a dark issue, but I feel we need to go there. What if you get into a situation where you're talking about facts about agriculture and maybe you have a certain contingent in the classroom that say, you know, I don't want to hear it because I think cattle are bad for the environment, or raising GMO grain is bad for the environment or something. There's such a huge environmental lobby that may twist the real story around. How do you work against something like that? Because in that case, maybe even the teachers may not want to support you on that.
Right. You do your best to present them the facts. We never focus on ideologies.
Okay.
An ideology is not a fact. So we work on what is the latest sound scientific evidence that's accepted among the scientific community, and that's the facts that we present. Now, whether people choose to accept that or not is not the same thing as them having learned what the facts are. And so you can't always change somebody's mind. And in that case, a lot of the times you'll have what I always call it the 95 and 5 rule. 95% of the people who hold that opinion because they've been given false information, but they're open to change. 5% of the people will hold that opinion regardless of what information you give them, because that's the narrative that they want and that's where their ideology lies. We don't deal in that. And personally, I don't believe that our education should deal in that. We should deal in what are the facts, what do we have in front of us. This is our accepted scientific evidence that we know of right now. And that can change over time. And when it does, then we change.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. So how do you get your funding? How does this work?
So part of our funding comes from the USDA.
Really?
There's a agriculture in the K-12 classroom grant that's funded through USDA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We're actually a line item in the Farm Bill. as part of keeping that going. But our funds are discretionary, so therefore it comes in the form of that grant. That's a competitive grant.
Okay.
And so we have to apply for that, and then it's over a 5-year term reinstituted each year.
And then you have state branches.
And then we have state programs. We also receive private funding. We have a lot of corporate funders.
wonderful.
Several of them are here.
Yeah. So you do have underwriting.
We do.
Grant.
We have like Nutrien is here, CHS is here, Corteva Ag Science, BASF. A lot of our funders are here.
Good.
And so we're glad to be here with them, let them know how much we appreciate them, and talk to our stakeholders. We have a lot of individual supporters here who support their state Ag in the Classroom program.
Well, and I'm glad to hear the fact that, you do work with the kids before they get to that age where they have already developed an opinion about something. You're starting at the basics, what is a chicken, where does an egg come from, and all that stuff. I'm glad to hear that. And, you kind of get ahead of the curve when that happens. Do you have a website that people can go to maybe understand more of the work that you do that maybe isn't geared just for the kids, but maybe the adults can learn too? What do you think?
Absolutely. So at our website, which is agclassroom.org,
Okay.
you can go there. We have a teacher center. We have a student center. There's general information about our history, where we came from, what we're about. Our mission statement is on there. There's even an opportunity to donate and support our program on there. You can see who our sponsors and funders are. There's a wonderful section on there for teachers that helps them in that classroom, accessing the curriculum, online resources, some e-learning resources. Then we have the student center that has a bunch of things that students can explore on their own. And so our website's open source. All of that curriculum is available for free. They can download it and use it in their classroom at any time. Those companion resources, we're constantly working to make sure all those links are working, and it leads them to the information that helps support those lessons.
Well, I appreciate that so much, and thanks for taking time to talk with us and
Absolutely.
explain how this organization works. Very valuable resource. And you're welcome back. We'll talk with you anytime if you want to get the word out.
Hey, thank you.
I appreciate it. Andy Guffey with us. And we're coming to you from Commodity Classic. Glad you could join us here. Well, for producer Brianne Hendrickson, I'm Marlon Bowling. We'll catch you next time on the Comstock channel. Thanks for joining us on our Comstock YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can also find us on Facebook and TikTok as well.